It was supposed to be a 5-minute stop. I was still wearing my work boots, smelling like machine oil and salt from my shift. I had dust on my sleeves, a receipt in my pocket, and a half-eaten protein bar wedged into the side of the truck's cup holder. Taylor had texted earlier something about being out with the girls again, and I decided for once to do something borderline thoughtful. Her laptop charger was on the dresser. She'd need it tomorrow. Simple act, no real agenda. Just an excuse to see her smile without having to beg for one. I pulled into Kelsey Street. Her place was lit up like a college party. Too many cars, too much noise for a girls' night. Still, I parked, got out, grabbed the charger and a bottle of wine I'd meant to leave at home. The porch light was flickering, and the door wasn't closed all the way. Inside smelled like something sour disguised with perfume. Laughter spilled down the hall. I didn't knock. The second I stepped in, I felt it, that off-balance tilt you get when the air is just wrong. Not wrong like danger, wrong like betrayal. The hallway opened up to the living room. 10, maybe 12 people. Dim lights. Cheap liquor bottles lining the counter like a frat setup. Half of them were strangers. The music was just loud enough to bury conversation. And right there, dead center of the couch, sat my wife, Taylor. She was leaned in toward a guy with a smug face and expensive shoes, legs crossed toward him, one hand on his shoulder like it belonged there. Her head tilted back when she laughed. A soft, fake little laugh I hadn't heard in months. His hand was under her hair. Her lipstick was darker than usual. The neckline of her dress was deeper. The skin showing, her skin, didn't look like it had been picked out for just the girls. She didn't see me. Not yet. A woman to my left glanced my way and paused mid-sip. Someone whispered. Taylor turned. Our eyes locked. In that split second, I watched every possible excuse pass behind her pupils. Shock, panic, calculation, but not guilt. Not once. Just a flicker of fury that I'd shown up. I took 2 steps into the room, held up the charger like it was proof of a crime, and asked loud enough to silence the noise. This what you meant by wine night, Tay? The guy beside her tensed. She stood slowly, smoothing her dress like it mattered. And then she had the audacity to say it. Not sorry. Not explanation. Why are you here? That was the moment. Not the couch. Not the hand on her leg. Not even the perfume I didn't buy. That question. That tone. Like I was the one intruding. I looked at her. Really looked. And realized she wasn't even afraid. Just pissed she'd been caught before she could wipe off the evidence. Everyone was watching. Kelsey whispered something to the girl beside her. The guy she was with shifted closer like backup. I didn't yell. Didn't throw the wine bottle or start swinging. I didn't say a word for 10 long seconds. Then I said, carefully, you left your ring on the counter this morning. Thought you forgot it. Now I get it. Taylor's face cracked. Not with shame, but something crueler. She actually rolled her eyes. Don't make this dramatic, Aaron. And that's when something inside me stopped trying to be understanding. She said it like I'd embarrassed her, like I had brought shame into that room by showing up, not her by being draped across some guy like she forgot what her vows sounded like. That smug flick of her voice. Don't make this dramatic, Aaron. Still rings in my ears like a car alarm at 3 a.m. One you can't shut off no matter how hard you punch the steering wheel. I should have walked out, but I didn't. Instead, I looked straight at the guy. He didn't flinch. Too confident, too sure he was safe in the middle of her carefully constructed web. Average height, gym fit, fake Rolex. Tight shirt unbuttoned just enough to say, look at me. He gave me the smirk, not wide, not cocky. Just enough to say, she told me you wouldn't come. So I asked him quietly, controlled, you know she's married? He blinked once. Didn't answer. Taylor snorted like I was the joke. Oh my God, Aaron. It's not like that. Really? I glanced at the hand she'd just pulled off his chest. Looked pretty clear to me. She crossed her arms and tilted her head like a judge about to dismiss a case. You're acting crazy. He's a friend. We're all just hanging out. Didn't look like just hanging out. I could hear my voice slipping. The calm was starting to splinter. She stepped forward. close enough for me to see the glitter on her collarbone and the half-lie already forming behind her teeth. If you're gonna make a scene, do it outside. You mean out of sight? I asked. Like everything else you've been hiding lately? That hit. Her jaw locked. The room got colder. Kelsey tried to cut in. Maybe you guys should. Shut up, Kelsey. I snapped without even turning. My eyes never left Taylor. You knew. And she did. Her guilty silence said more than any apology ever could. She looked away. So did a few others. Taylor's posture changed. Chin higher, chest out, like she was suddenly the one being wronged. I didn't cheat, Aaron. Didn't cheat. I echoed, shaking my head. You're practically playing Twister on a couch with a guy whose name I don't even know. She actually laughed. Dry. Mocking. We didn't do anything physical. If that's what you're about to scream in your little jealous meltdown. Don't worry, I said. You've already done enough. She stared at me for a beat. Then, and this I will never forget. She turned to the guy, put her hand back on his shoulder and said, You see what I deal with? And something inside me finally gave out. Not anger, not heartbreak, just that quiet, icy click you feel when something breaks so deep you can't fix it. I nodded once, turned around, and walked out. No yelling, no slamming doors. But something ended that night. I don't think she noticed. The drive home didn't feel real. I don't even remember starting the engine. The keys must have turned themselves. My hands were shaking. Not violently, just that slow, dull tremor you get when your body's catching up to a shock your mind already understands. She looked me dead in the eye and played victim. Right in front of him. Right in front of everyone. She didn't even try to cover it up. No panic, no stammering. Just lies dressed up in casual tones. Like I was overreacting. Like her sitting in some guy's lap while calling it girls' night was a misunderstanding I should apologize for. And I almost did. That's the worst part. There was a moment, driving through that dark stretch past Lake Briar, where I actually questioned myself. Wondered if I'd misread it. If maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked. That's how deep she'd worked it into me. That instinct to defend her, even when she had her nails sunk into someone else's shoulder. I pulled into our driveway and just sat there. The porch light was off. The house looked like it always did. Perfect on the outside, quiet, clean, a magazine picture of what happiness is supposed to look like. But inside, I could already feel the rot. I walked in. The place smelled like citrus cleaner. The laundry she never folded was still in the basket. Her earrings were on the counter. Her wedding ring, the one I mentioned earlier, was exactly where she left it, next to the sink like it was nothing more than costume jewelry. I picked it up and stared at it. No scratches, no dent, just a cold, polished circle that meant absolutely nothing now. I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch in the dark and scrolled through our texts. So many love yous, so many check-ins. I started reading between the lines. The nights she came home late, the weekends she swore she needed me time, the smiles that never quite reached her eyes when we talked about the future. And then I did something I hadn't planned to. I opened her iPad. It was synced to her phone. I didn't even have to guess her password. It was still my birthday. And there it was. Texts. Dozens. Not just with him, his name was Derek, by the way, but others. Flirty messages with someone named Brandon. A string of heart emojis with a guy listed as Jim Bud. A voice note she sent 2 nights ago, whispering something about how he never touches me like you do. I felt sick. Screenshots. Photos. Not graphic, but close enough that the intention was impossible to deny. Her in the mirror, biting her lip. Her in that red dress she told me she hated. The one she wore the night she had to work late. All of it. Right there. Stored neatly under her iCloud like it was a scrapbook of betrayal. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the iPad. I just sat there. Still. Numb. And somewhere between 3:17 and 4:08 a.m., I knew I would never look at her the same way again. 5:12 a.m. I heard the car pull up. I didn't move from the couch. I'd been staring at nothing for hours, letting the silence crawl over me like a wet blanket. I knew the sound of her tires, the soft chime when the door opened. Taylor always walked like her shoes had something to prove. heels clicking just fast enough to say she had somewhere better to be. The front door creaked open. She hesitated in the frame like she didn't know whether to come in or run. I watched her silhouette shift against the hallway light. Then she stepped inside, slowly, like the house wasn't hers anymore. Her voice was soft, cautious. "Aaron?" I didn't answer. She walked a few steps, then saw me in the living room, hunched on the couch, elbows on my knees, her ring still clutched in my fist. "Aaron," she said again, this time a little more annoyed, like I was making things difficult. Still, I said nothing. She dropped her purse too loud on the entryway table. "Are we doing this now? Seriously?" I turned to face her. Finally, my voice came out lower than I expected. "You lied to my face." She blinked, smoothed her dress. Her makeup was smudged, her lipstick half gone. She didn't even look tired, just annoyed. "Can we please not turn this into a soap opera? You were wrapped around Derek like you forgot we were married," I said. "I walked in and you froze." "That wasn't nothing, Taylor." She sighed like I was boring her. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I stood, held out the iPad. "Then explain this." Her eyes darted down. She didn't reach for it. "I didn't mean to go through it," I said. "But you left it open. And what I saw, Jesus, Taylor." She crossed her arms. Defensive. Small. "You shouldn't have looked. That's what you're focusing on?" Silence. She turned toward the hallway. "I'm not doing this at 6 in the morning." I followed her. "No, you don't get to just disappear into the bedroom like it's a normal day. You don't get to sleep off your affair while I sit here wondering if any of this was ever real." She spun on me. "It wasn't an affair, Aaron. I didn't sleep with him, okay? We were talking. I needed someone to talk to. You're always working or checking out. You don't even see me anymore." That was it. That was her card. I was to blame. Because I work. Because I trusted her. I stared at her, stunned. "So instead of talking to me, your husband, you played footsie with gym rats and texted voice notes about how I don't touch you right? You flirted like a teenager. You sent pictures. You let some guy put his hand between your legs at a party and had the gall to say I checked out." She opened her mouth, closed it, then whispered, "You don't know how lonely it's been." And there it was. That's what she wanted me to take away, her loneliness, her unmet needs. Like that justified everything. I took a breath. I wasn't yelling. I was done yelling. You could have told me. You could have begged for therapy. You could have screamed at me. But you chose to betray me. She turned away. I dropped her ring on the hallway table. "I'm not your excuse anymore." The sound of her ring hitting the table echoed louder than anything either of us had said. Spun once, twice, then stilled. She didn't even glance at it. She just walked past it, walked past me, and into the bedroom like I hadn't just shattered the foundation of our marriage in a sentence. Like she was retreating into some familiar cave where accountability couldn't reach her. I stood in that hallway longer than I probably should have, staring at the closed door, listening. Nothing. No crying. No scrambling to fix it. No apology. I walked into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. Even though my stomach had no interest in swallowing anything. My hands were cold. My knuckles stiff. My whole body felt like it didn't belong in the house anymore, like it had been ejected from something it helped build. Half an hour passed. Maybe more. I finally cracked the door open. She was lying on the bed, scrolling through her phone. Calm. Comfortable. Not even pretending to be upset. "Taylor." She didn't look up. "What? Do you even care?" That got her attention. She sat up slightly, propped on one elbow, phone still in her hand. "Of course I care. But I'm not going to stand here and let you corner me like some criminal when I haven't even hit sleep." "You're not tired," I said. "You're just done pretending." She tilted her head, and for a second, just a second, something flickered in her eyes. Annoyance? Regret? No. Pity. She pitied me. Like I was the sad fool in the story who didn't see it coming. I walked into the room. I read the messages. With Derek. With Brandon. That guy named Jay you saved under a fake name. This wasn't one mistake. This is a pattern. She looked away. None of them mattered. That might have been the cruelest thing she said yet. Then what did matter? I asked. Because I gave you everything. I gave you space, I gave you love, I gave you time to figure yourself out every time you went cold. And you gave me this. Her voice went flat. I didn't ask you to. My breath caught. That sentence, 6 words, stabbed deeper than anything else. I didn't ask you to. Not I'm sorry. Not I got lost. Not even it wasn't supposed to happen. Just that. Like my love was some unwelcome burden she tolerated until something better or more exciting came along. She sat up fully now, brushing her hair out of her face like she was gearing up for a boardroom debate. Aaron, people grow apart. That's life. What, you want me to lie and say I'm still in love with you? Silence. I stared at her, stunned. Like I'd been waiting for the mask to fall off and now it finally had. You're not in love with me, I said quietly. But you stayed. Took the vacations. Wore the ring. Let me think everything was fine. She shrugged. It was easier. That was it. Easier. I backed out of the room like I'd stumbled into someone else's house, someone else's nightmare. Because the woman I married was gone. And what she left behind didn't even flinch. I don't remember sleeping. I must have passed out on the couch sometime after sunrise because I woke up with the sun glaring through the blinds and the stench of cold coffee in my nostrils. My neck was locked in the worst position imaginable and there was this thin, metallic taste in my mouth, regret, maybe. Or fury that had dried overnight. I sat up slowly. Everything in my body resisted movement like it knew what the day held. Taylor was already gone. Her side of the bed? Cold. Bathroom mirror? Cleared of her products. No note. No message. Just the faintest scent of perfume in the hallway as if she wanted me to know she'd left on her terms. Like this was some game and she'd made the next move. I didn't chase her. I didn't text. I started opening drawers. It wasn't rage. It was clinical. I went from closet to dresser to linen cabinet, quietly collecting everything that belonged to her. Makeup bags. Hairdryer. Her ridiculous collection of bath bombs. I threw it all in boxes. Labeled each one. 3 total. Her clothes filled too. The third had everything else, including the framed wedding photo she always kept on her nightstand but hadn't touched in months. I put the ring on top, right in the center. Then I sat down at the kitchen table and opened her iPad again. New messages. Derek, last night was wild. You okay? Brandon, tell me when he leaves so I can slide through again. Another one from a number she hadn't saved. He doesn't know, right? I don't want drama. I sat there, reading these messages from men I'd never met but now knew in the worst way. They all sounded the same, casual, arrogant, sure that I was the fool in the dark while they got to be her private escape. And still, she hadn't admitted a thing. No confession. No apology. Just indifference wrapped in fake justifications. So I did the one thing I never thought I'd do. I called my older brother, Mike. We hadn't been close lately. Life, distance, disagreements, the usual. But I needed someone real. Someone who wouldn't sugarcoat or play therapist. He answered on the second ring. Aaron? I didn't even say hi. I think my marriage is over. There was a long pause. Then his voice, steady, serious. Tell me everything. So I did. I laid it all out. From the couch scene to the texts to her vacant reaction this morning. I didn't leave anything out. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he said, you know what you have to do, right? I think so. Don't think. You do. You just don't want to admit it yet. I stared at the ring in the box. She said it was easier. What? She said staying with me was just easier. I heard him exhale slowly. Then make it hard. Make her face it. And in that moment, something shifted. I stopped waiting for an apology that was never coming. I started planning my exit. That afternoon, I made a list. It wasn't a dramatic thing. No fire, no slashing photos, no whiskey-soaked goodbye soundtrack playing in the background. It was quiet. Precise. Cold in a way I didn't know I could be. Just a man, pen in hand, drawing lines through the bones of a life he thought he was building. Divorce attorney. Joint account freeze. Storage unit for her stuff. Change locks. For bullets. All doable. I stared at the paper for a long time. It looked too neat, too sane for the kind of madness it represented. But I wasn't crazy. I was clear. For the first time in months, maybe years, I could see through the fog of making it work, trying too hard, dying by compromise. I knew exactly who she was now. And it wasn't my wife. I called a lawyer. Guy named Phelps. Referred by Mike. Voice like gravel and zero sugar in his tone, the kind of man who's seen too many good people get eaten alive by courtrooms and charmers in nice heels. He heard the first half of my story and said, she'll play sweet. Trust me. But start protecting yourself now. That same hour, I went to the bank. Froze the joint checking account. Left her enough for basic expenses because I wasn't cruel. But I wasn't going to bankroll her dates with Derek, Brandon, or Jim Bud either. Then I drove. Not aimless, deliberate. I went to a local storage facility and rented a unit under my name. 20 minutes later, those 3 boxes with her things were in it. I texted her the address with one line. "Your stuff's here. Pick it up this weekend." She didn't reply. The silence was louder than a scream. Around 7 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up. "Hey, it's Taylor." Her voice was calm, calculated, the voice of someone who rehearsed her tone before hitting call. "I saw the account," she said, "and the text." I waited. "I just think it's childish," she added, "to do all this without having a real conversation first." My jaw tensed. The time for conversation was every night you said you were just tired. Every weekend you vanished. Every lie you wrapped in a smile. That was our conversation. "You're twisting things." "No," I said, "you just don't like hearing the truth spoken back to you without a filter." She went quiet. Then, venom in her tone, "You're not as innocent as you think." There it was. Her final defense. "If I can't be clean, I'll make you dirty too." "I never touched anyone," I said, voice low. "I never lied. I never flirted behind your back. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe being boring and loyal didn't entertain you long enough." A pause. Then she laughed, not sweet, not amused. Just sharp and dismissive. "Whatever helps you sleep." She hung up. And for the first time since this hell started, I smiled. Because now I knew she wasn't confused. She wasn't broken. She was exactly who she wanted to be. And I was finally done protecting her from the mirror. The next morning felt different. Not healed, not even close, but cleaner. Like stepping out into cold air after a fire. I still felt the burn in my lungs, but at least I wasn't choking on it anymore. I went for a drive before sunrise. No destination. Just wanted the wind through the window and time away from walls that held too many fake memories. The house was still half hers, technically. But emotionally, she'd burned her name off everything the night she looked me in the eye and said staying with me was easier. When I got back around 9, her car was in the driveway. She hadn't texted, hadn't called, just showed up. No warning. I parked next to her, heart steady but hands ready. There was a part of me hoping she was here to fight. Not because I wanted the drama, but because that would confirm what I already knew. She was incapable of real remorse. I stepped into the house and there she was, standing in the living room. One hand on her hip, sunglasses still on. As if this was her stage and she just finished a rehearsal. "You froze the account," she said, like she'd just discovered it. "I told you I would," I replied. "I had a hair appointment, Aaron. You know how hard it is to reschedule with Carrie." That was her opening line. Her hair appointment. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. A dry, bitter chuckle that slipped out before I could stop it. She frowned. "You think this is funny?" "No," I said. "But it's insane. You walked in here after emotionally nuking our marriage, and your lead complaint is that your hairstylist might be inconvenienced." She rolled her eyes. "This is exactly why I stopped talking to you. Everything's an argument." "No, Taylor. Everything's finally the truth. You don't get to cheat, lie, manipulate, and then cry foul when consequences show up." She took off her sunglasses slowly, like she was bracing for a punch. "I didn't cheat." I stepped forward. "Yes, you did. Maybe not physically, though I'm still not convinced, but emotionally? Repeatedly. You had backup boyfriends on speed dial while I was fighting for us alone." Her voice cracked, but not from sadness. From irritation. "God, you're so dramatic." There it was again. That word. Dramatic. Her favorite weapon. I gestured to the hallway. "Your stuff is gone. It's in storage." "I'm done, Taylor." She blinked. Once. "Just like that." "No, not just like that. Like this, after months of pretending you were still here. After nights of cold shoulders and excuses. After discovering that I was just a placeholder until you found someone who made you feel seen for 5 minutes." Silence. Then she walked past me toward the door, brushing my shoulder like I didn't exist. Before she opened it, she turned and said, "You're going to regret this. Not now, but you will. No one else will put up with your crap." I looked her dead in the eye. "I hope not." She slammed the door. But for the first time, it didn't feel like a loss. The door didn't just close behind her. It sealed something. I stood in that silence for a while. It wasn't peaceful, not yet, but it was honest. The storm had moved through. No more lies to untangle. No more late-night fake apologies. No more second-guessing myself while she texted her gym buddy 3 rooms away. I spent that day doing what felt like reclaiming. Cleaned the house, not out of spite, out of necessity. Her perfume was still embedded in the throw pillows. The mirror still had her fingerprints. So I scrubbed, washed every surface, tossed every picture frame that had her face in it into a box I wouldn't open again. Took down the photo wall she made in our hallway, the one with the cute clips and fairy lights, our journey, all gone. Every photo felt like a lie now, a story she told while she was writing another one behind my back. Mid-afternoon, I opened my email. She'd sent something. Subject line, "We need to talk like adults." I stared at it for a while before opening it. The message was short. "I think we both said things we didn't mean. I don't want things to get messy. Let's figure this out face to face. Just you and me. No lawyers. Please. No apology. Just that. Please." It wasn't even about love. It was about control. She felt it slipping and wanted to yank it back. So I replied, "We'll talk. One time. Public place." She responded in 5 minutes. We met that night at a diner halfway between our house and her new apartment. Yes, she'd moved into one. I found out via bank statement. Typical. She showed up in full armor, fresh hair, fake lashes, that blouse she wore on our 3rd anniversary that used to make me feel something. Now it just looked like camouflage. She slid into the booth like she was still my wife. I didn't smile. "Thanks for meeting," she said, adjusting her napkin like this was some business lunch. I nodded. "Say what you need to say." She leaned in. "Look, we were both unhappy. I just handled it wrong." "No, Taylor," I said. "You didn't handle it wrong. You chose to betray me. Repeatedly. You nurtured something behind my back and lied with your whole chest while doing it." Her jaw clenched. "So what, you want me to beg?" "No," I said. "I want you to stop pretending you're the victim." She blinked fast. "Wasn't expecting that." She tried again. "I was lonely. You were distant. I didn't feel wanted anymore. You didn't talk to me about it." I tried. "No," I cut in. "You flirted with strangers and called it therapy." Her face flushed. "You want to save face now?" I said. "Fine. Sign the papers when they come. No lawyers. No fighting. Just be done." She stared at me like I'd just spoken in another language. Then she said it. "You really don't love me anymore?" I looked at her, eyes clear, voice steady. "I loved you so much I stopped loving myself. That ended the night you made me feel small in a room full of strangers so you could feel adored for 5 minutes." Her mouth parted. Nothing came out. I stood, tossed some cash on the table. "Good luck, Taylor." And I walked out. Didn't look back. I didn't cry after that meeting. Not in the car, not at home, not even when I opened the drawer where her wedding vows used to be. They were gone, of course. Just a blank space left behind. Like she took even the paper with her when she moved out, couldn't risk leaving behind a single trace of who she pretended to be. Instead of crying, I sat on the edge of the bed, my bed now, and breathed. Not shallow, panicked gasps like I'd been doing for weeks. A full breath. Deep. Solid. My lungs actually held it like they'd been waiting for permission. There's a strange relief in the moment you finally feel nothing for someone who once shaped your whole world. I didn't even tell anyone about the diner meeting until 2 days later. Mike came over to help me move furniture, not because I needed the help, but because he knew I needed the company. Brothers do that. We shoved the old couch out to the curb. The one she used to stretch across like a queen. I bought a new one the next morning, firmer, smaller, darker. Mine. While we worked, Mike asked, "So, you talked to her?" I nodded. "Yeah." "And?" She wanted to spin it. Act like we were just 2 people who drifted. Mike laughed bitterly. "Of course she did." I shut it down, I said. Told her it's over. Told her she doesn't get to rewrite the ending. He clapped my shoulder. "Good." Then he looked me dead in the eye. "You know what scares them the most?" he asked. "When you stop yelling and start moving on. When you go quiet." He was right. Because that's when Taylor started texting again. Not long paragraphs. Not "I'm sorry's." Just these vague, breadcrumb messages meant to keep the door cracked open. "Just checking on you. Hope you're okay. Saw something that reminded me of you." The kind of texts that invite conversation without offering any closure. Classic bait. I didn't respond. Every time I saw her name on my screen, I pictured her face that night on the couch with Derek. The way she looked through me like I was interrupting something private. The way she turned to him instead of me. Silence was my answer now. I kept walking forward. I started jogging again. Cleaned the garage. Donated her old books. Deleted her playlists from my phone. Found a box of photos I couldn't throw out yet, so I taped it shut and left it in the attic. Maybe I'll burn it someday. Maybe I won't. But at least it's not sitting in my living room pretending to still matter. And the best part? Sleep. Real sleep. No more pretending not to notice when she slipped out of bed to text someone at 2 a.m. No more lying next to a stranger who once said I was her forever. No more waking up wondering if today would be the day she chose to come back to me fully. Because I no longer wanted her to. She became a chapter. A sharp, painful, unforgettable chapter. But just a chapter. Not the ending. The divorce papers were ready by the end of the month. Phelps sent them over with a quiet efficiency. No dramatic emails, no long letters, just a clean PDF titled Final Draft. Dissolution Agreement. I sat at my kitchen table. My new one. Not the old one she picked out during that phase where she thought she wanted to be minimalist. And read every line with a highlighter in hand. Property split. No kids, no custody. Assets cleanly divided. I didn't contest anything. I didn't want more. I wanted out. All that was left was her signature. The silence between us had stretched long enough that I assumed she understood. We weren't circling back. This wasn't a trial separation. This wasn't one of those movies where someone realizes too late what they lost. This was real, legal, permanent. Then she showed up again. No warning. Just like last time. I heard the knock. Looked through the peephole. There she was. Same effortless makeup. Same calm mask. But something was different this time. She was holding a frame. One I hadn't seen in a while. Our wedding photo. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. She spoke first. I found this in a drawer. I didn't take it. I just looked at her. Why are you here, Taylor? She hesitated. I wanted to see if you were sure. I let out a quiet breath. You still think this is up for debate? She stepped forward. Not too close, but enough to test the boundary. Aaron, we spent years building a life. We've been through things. Maybe I handled this all wrong. But maybe I was scared. Lost. I don't know. You do know, I said. You just don't like what it says about you. Her eyes flicked down to the frame. We were happy once. We were, I agreed. But you started writing a new story behind my back while pretending to still live in the old one. She blinked fast. No tears came, but I could tell she'd prepared for them. Practiced them, maybe. I keep thinking, she said softly. What if we just tried again? I laughed once, not out of humor, but disbelief. You're not here for reconciliation. You're here because I didn't chase you. Because you ran your game and I didn't play. That scares you. Her silence was the confirmation. You don't love me, Taylor, I said. You miss control. You miss being adored. But you don't miss me. You miss the version of me that made you feel safe while you did whatever the hell you wanted. She didn't deny it. I gestured to the frame. Take that with you. It means more to you now than it ever did when we were together. Still, she hesitated. So I said what finally ended it. You don't get to grieve a fire you started. She swallowed, turned, and walked away. I didn't watch her go. The door clicked shut behind her, and this time it sounded like closure. The papers came back signed 2 days later. No note, no comment, just her signature, smooth and distant, like it belonged to someone who'd long since detached herself from the mess she'd made. I stared at it for a moment, not out of sadness but finality. Then I scanned the file, hit send, and just like that, my marriage was over. No ceremony, no big fight, just silence, a cursor blinking on a screen, and a name I no longer had to share a life with. I didn't feel the closure all at once. Came in pieces. The next morning, I made coffee and didn't check my phone. There was no expectation anymore. No hoping for a good morning text. No anxiety over who she was messaging while she sat across from me at the table pretending to scroll news headlines. I went to work. I answered emails. I didn't flinch when someone mentioned her name. I even went out for drinks with some friends I hadn't seen since the wedding. When they asked how I was holding up, I didn't lie. I told them the truth. Not the messy, dramatic details, but the honest version. She broke it. I picked myself up. That weekend, I cleared out the last remnants. Found one of her old sweaters under the bed. A pair of heels in the back of the closet. A notebook she used to write in, mostly empty now. I boxed it all and dropped it at her apartment's front desk with no warning. No message. Just closure delivered in cardboard. She didn't text after that. Didn't ask how I was doing. Didn't try to come back again. Maybe she found a new shoulder. Or maybe she finally realized the mirror she'd been avoiding had followed her into every room. As for me, I started running again. Picked up the guitar I hadn't touched in years. Reconnected with Mike and actually laughed without feeling like I had to fake it. My house started to feel like home again. Not because it was perfect, but because it was mine. I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I don't want revenge. What I want and finally have is peace. That version of love, the one I fought to keep, died the night she chose someone else's attention over my loyalty. But in its place, something else grew. Something quieter, stronger, self-respect. If you're reading this because you've seen the same signs, the cold distance, the sudden secrecy, the gaslighting that makes you question your own gut, let me tell you something. Trust yourself. People who love you don't make you feel crazy for asking simple questions. They don't replace connection with manipulation. And they sure as hell don't sit in someone else's lap and call it loneliness. I lost someone I thought was my forever, but I found something better.